Hello.
Hello.
Oh, here I am talking with the mute on. Isn't that fun?
Yeah, I was too, so.
Yeah. If you're going to be doing this all the time, I want to be like fluent in this.
Oh, okay.
I use this a lot, but I use Google's chat rooms and meeting rooms. It's all the same. It's just that I don't know how to set up a meeting through our stuff. Yeah. Whoa, where did my face go? I'm gone. I'm out. What happened? Okay. I'm tired, Judy. Oh, sorry,
Okay.
Paula.
Wonder where Ashley is.
Don't know. You got her phone number?
I think so.
Sorry. That was rude.
I have her email.
Okay, why don't we shoot her an email?
I just did. Well, hopefully she will be joining.
Right?
See how many people we're
If
supposed to have
if
today.
not, oh, look at that. That
There's
was quick.
Ashley.
Hi, Ashley.
There she is.
Can y'all hear me okay?
We do.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't hear you. Let's see what's happening.
All right. Just so that she has some type of background music or something to go with, I think we'll start the serenade.
Okay. Should we do Christmas?
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
Jack,
Jack Frost nibbling at your nose.
you
Yuletide Yuletide what?
carols.
Carols being sung by choir.
And folks dressed up like Eskimos.
Eskimos,
Every
as everybody knows.
a turkey and
And
some
some
mistletoe.
mistletoe. There you go. I don't
I
know
got
the
my
rest.
sound
Come on,
fixed
help us
just
out,
as y'all were
Ashley. We're trying to
singing.
remember that song.
Well, the sound wasn't coming through, and so I was like putzing around with the settings, and I had this beautiful Christmas carol just flood through my office.
Told you it would work, Paula.
It worked.
Yep. It's a
Christmas
Christmas
cheer just
spirit
flocks to
thing.
me. It's yeah.
Well, it's good to have you here again this morning. I hope everything is going well and you're getting ready to have an amazing holiday.
I am planning on it. I went to my grandmother's this past weekend and got her decorations all up, and then I'm going back home next weekend to go and take everyone, like my mom, my grandmother, and my great aunt, to go look at Christmas lights. It's a yearly tradition. We all pile in the car, we get hot chocolate, and we go drive around all the pretty lights in
Love
America.
it. Where do
Yeah.
you go?
So my family's up in Wichita Falls. So we go through the Midwestern State University has their Fantasy of Lights, and so we'll drive through that, and then we'll go through like the country club and all the just the big beautiful homes that have just.
Sure.
My mom said they've gone all out this year. Like they've just they've made up
Cool.
for last year, I guess. So
Yeah, we have a place like that called Interlochen in Arlington. And
oh, cool.
if you get in that line, you can count no bathroom stop for 2 hours. Just not happening.
And that's on a good day.
It is on a good day, you're right. Because
And
I
that's
mean,
in
everybody
Arlington.
just both
Yes.
ways. It's just like this.
I should do that because I live close to Aubrey. So I mean, it'd be a trek down there and back, but I love
But
Christmas lights.
Man, it is amazing. It is Interlaken. They have kind of like a competition between the rich people that live there. I mean, the incredibly wealthy people. I mean, the people that happen to have a really good start in life and were able to capitalize on it. Gosh, how can I say this appropriately? There's
Those who
people who
love
can
to show
afford to
Christmas
throw that
cheer.
many lights. There we go. There's people who can afford to put that many lights into a moment, and they are pretty amazing. They're
You know, we grew up, I grew up in like between like I around the corner from Section 8 housing, and some of my favorite houses to go see were in that area because there was this house. It was wonderful. Every year they would add a new decoration, and so I mean it took like 20 years to get their whole like front yard full, but they would sync it to the radio, so you would drive by and all the lights would go to the Christmas carol. So it was just a wonderful. And it was just around the
awesome.
corner. So it's encouraging that no matter what, you can always build up
Yeah,
to be the Griswolds for Christmas. That is what I'm hearing. Life goals.
right? Absolutely. Whoa. Nicely done, Paula.
Ah, glad I could help. And Judy has returned, so Christmas
Oh,
is saved.
Christmas is
Hey,
saved again.
Ashley, did you get my email regarding, I can't get into that description?
I'll unshare it after this. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Yep, let me make a note to open up share. And I'll send you the attachment too.
Great.
Ashley, I have to step away for a few moments, but Brett is taking over.
All right, awesome.
I'm not taking over. Ashley's in charge. I'm backing her up. That's how this rolls.
You're the MC, Brett.
I am. I am. Most common. That's me. I'm the most common person here. The MC.
Most Christmassy. Merry
Yes, I'll
Christmas.
take that one. I love Christmas. I'm not gonna lie,
Mr.
Ashley.
Christmas.
I
Mr.
have. You want to
Christmas.
see my little elf boots?
I do.
I'm kidding. I didn't wear them today.
I'm really sad. I'm sad.
Are
I
you
expect
sure? I thought
pictures.
I heard jingle bells.
Well, you might have heard those, but that's from my steed outside. My car's got jingle bells on them.
All fun.
Well, every horse should have one, right? I have a Mustang.
You know, and we all have horsepower in our car, so it just
Giddy up, giddy up. Dun, dun,
Mustang,
dun,
that
dun.
was my dream car growing up. That was the
The Mustang?
a Mustang was my dream car growing up. And then when it came time to buy one, because I had to move to I was moving to Wisconsin for my first job at a school, and I was like, I think I need something that's like for some reason the Mustang just didn't like suit like it was my dream growing up, and then I got in it to drive it, and I was like, I don't know that I want to drive across the country in it. And so I got a Toyota.
That's funny, Ashley.
It was sad.
And there's Roger. And Judy, I did not start the recording, so whenever you're ready.
All right. Me, my. Okay, I'm ready. We have a change of weather here. It's so drastic. My body doesn't know what to do. My nose is like, hey, this is not really good, actually.
Yeah, it was 75 this weekend, and then flipped to 50. It's just completely flipped to 50s. I think yesterday got up to maybe 55.
Yep. It was just weird. And this morning,
Welcome December in Texas.
right. Flip a coin.
I would have
It's
expected
gonna be
December to
sunny
be
and bright.
yeah.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the SBDC webinar series. My name is Paula McCain. I'm a recovery business advisor for the North Central Texas Business Development Center. Today is National Cotton Candy Day, World Trick Shot Day, but most importantly, it is National Pearl Harbor Day of Remembrance. The SBDC is the leading provider of assistance for small businesses. We are grant funded, and because of that, we are able to provide our services to you at no cost. Today's presentation is how to get to know and write to your target audience, part 1, presented by Ashley Cook. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat room and we'll address them as they come up. Let me introduce Ashley. Ashley Cook has 13 years of sales and marketing and analytics experience. She shifted from serving small business owners. She developed copy for multi-million-dollar brands, social media influencers, and small startups. She's a copywriter as well as a copy coach and the creator of Lane Copywriting. Ashley, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Paula. I am excited to be here. So let me get my screen share up and we'll just jump right on in. All right, let me get, excuse me. As Brett mentioned, we've had some weather swings, and so my throat might not be as excited about speaking. So let me see, why is this not giving me present mode? Just did this earlier. Well, we'll go through and, oh wait, here, there we go. Beautiful. It just went off of the main screen. All right. So I'm really excited to talk to y'all today on this first part around how to get to know and write to your target audience. So today we're going to focus in on the know part, and then part 2 will be around the writing part. A lot of business owners I've seen can skip this step of how do you get to know your target audience on a deeper level, and then how do you take that knowledge and incorporate that into your writing. A lot of times it's easy to skip over that because we're busy, we got tons of stuff going on, and it's easy to make assumptions that, oh, we may know, or oh, we'll just we'll write this social post or this email, and not really take that time to have what our target audience, who they are, what they're going through, what their dreams are, etc., to help inform that writing. So today we're going to dive into why knowing your target audience matters and how it can actually impact your business and how you operate your business for the better. We'll then go into what do you need to know? Like what exactly do you need to know beyond what you might currently know today? Also, how can you find out this information? Okay, so now I need to know all this stuff, but where do I go to find it out? And then I have a couple of other little tidbits in there around that. And then we'll wrap it up with one simple mistake that business owners make when it comes to writing their copy. And then next in the part 2, we'll dive into like how you can take this information and start to craft it in your words. But I'll give you little sneak peeks along the way and ideas on how you can start implementing some of these learnings and some of these this information that you'll have from your audience into your writing today. A lot of times we think about, whenever we approach our business, it's tempting to do the whole, Field of Dreams concept of if they build it, if we build it, they will come. I've only seen that work in Kevin Costner movies. I don't know what it is about Kevin Costner, but they did just kind of come. And certainly you can draw in your ideal buyer, or I'll just use the word, you'll hear me say like target audience or target buyer or ideal client. I use those interchangeably, just depending on the type of business. If you're a practitioner, ideal patient, if you're a shop owner, ideal customer, things like that. So I'll just use those interchangeably if you hear that. And certainly if you have excellent content, it can draw in your ideal audience, but it's no guarantee that that you'll actually bring in the right kind of buyer or right kind of audience for what it is that you offer. So you may draw in the masses, but are they high quality? And that's what really at the heart of getting to know your target audience is. is all about. Because remember, writing copy or writing copywriting for your business is ultimately about persuading your reader to take an action. And it's not just to inspire and to educate, it's to actually influence them and inspire them to act in whatever that action is that you may want them to take. And the best way to go about that is to know them, to know their pain points, to know their dreams, to know that when you write, you're writing with that spotlight on them. So we'll go into some detail around that. It makes me think of my godson. He is 3 years old, and it is really hard to convince him to do something that he doesn't want to do. So you have to get very specific in your messaging to get him to, to go pick up his toys, for example. It's a little bit of that kind of concept of like, it's really hard to motivate and inspire someone to have them take that next step, whether it's to book a service or schedule a meeting with you or buy a product, if you're not talking in the language that they're used to hearing. So this can also, the cool benefit about this is that what you'll learn today, you can also apply in your personal life, your business life. So there's just a wide variety of ways that you can apply these learnings. So if you have any questions along the way, just drop them into the chat. I'll go ahead and get that box up. So if we see any questions, then I'll be able to answer those at a stopping spot or make sure and catch them at the end. So, all right. So first I want to start with asking a question. Imagine that you're having a conversation with someone, and I want you to imagine who it would be easier to have that conversation with. Would it be this scenario, all these people on the screen, or either this woman or this man? Who do you think it'd be easier to actually talk to, like have a meaningful conversation with? Just go ahead and drop that into the chat. Yep. I'm not seeing anyone say this scenario on the screen. It's either it's so much easier to talk to one person, right, than try to hold a meaningful conversation with a massive amount of people. So when you think about the copy that you write, anytime you sit down to write for your business, you're writing with one person in mind. A lot of times and I've experienced this myself, I've seen it with my clients and I've seen it with my own self, is that if I get stuck on writing, I'll sit and I'll think, oh my gosh, why am I having such a hard time? Why do I feel blocked? More often than not, the answer is I'm trying to write to too many people at once. And what really helps to break through that is to envision one person in your head that you're writing to. So like if you, since it's the holiday season, imagine sending out your Christmas cards. And you're wanting to write a letter that goes with your Christmas cards. Is it easier to write a letter to your whole family, or is it easier to write to your grandmother? You're going to use different language, different messaging when you're writing to your grandmother than maybe something more general. So when it comes to your business, you're wanting to get specific and tailored into that messaging. So knowing your audience and knowing them well, it does help to shape your messaging and helps you to write more specific and more tailored to them. It also, when you're writing more specifically to your audience, it helps them to know if they're the right fit for, if you're the right fit for what they need, if what you're offering will meet that need or that desire. So, for example, if let's say that you are a real estate agent who helps first-time home buyers versus a commercial real estate, how you go about writing, if you're sending postcards or if you're in a magazine taking out an ad or you're writing on social media, you're going to write and shape your messaging very differently to that commercial market versus a first-time home buyer. Or even if you're a real estate agent within residential and you focus on first-time home buyer versus those who buy for their second, third, or fourth home, that the messaging is very different for that first-time home buyer. They're thinking, do I have enough for a down payment? Maybe it's out of reach. Where do I live? What are the steps? I feel very overwhelmed. Is this going to be like a nightmare experience versus someone who's gone through that? So you can start to see how knowing who you're talking to will help to shape and mold and tailor the words that you write. That will ultimately help writing to become much easier for you and your business because you'll know exactly who you're talking to and you can just write and have that conversation with them in your marketing. Ultimately, that attracts who you want to bring in. So if you are that realtor who does residential, you're going to be bringing in and attracting in those leads and appealing to those home buyers, and you're repelling who you don't want. So it's a little bit of a qualification. So you're trying to get your audience to be of a higher quality that comes to you, like a higher quality lead. So if you're that real estate agent, you're not wanting the commercial to come in, you're wanting the residential. So you're writing in a way that says, hey, commercial real estate, like I'm not going to be able to meet your needs, but residential I can. And then specifically, you can get specific into that, as specific as you want. And ultimately, that's going to be a better use of your time. It's going to make it easier for you to write, and it will also start to build and increase your return on your marketing investment over time, because instead of drawing in the masses, you're now drawing in a higher quality specific lead. So another example that I like to think of is, because I love food, and we're it is brunch time or second breakfast time. I think of like a steak restaurant, and so or a restaurant that is known for their steaks. Let's say that you are an upscale, more of an upscale fine dining experience. You're going to write your messaging very differently than if you are a like fast food diner type of place. So from a steak perspective, you're going to be writing about, like dry age, premium, prime cut, best in class. You're going to have that language. You're going to write about the dining experience or the credentials of the chef, or about like the quality ingredients. But if you're more of like an everyday diner type place, you may emphasize that it's more, hearty, flavorful, maybe like great value. You're going to emphasize large portions or the value aspect of it, whereas in fine dining you're not, because your audience is coming in for a very different experience than if they were to go to more of a cafe style type place. So that's just another example of how knowing your audience will help shape your messaging. So what I wanted to also cover is it can actually cause quite a bit of fear around honing in your messaging. So some will say, well, you need to niche down, or you need to choose a target audience, and then that can bring up a whole host of fears. So I just listed 3 of them. I just wanted to call the elephant out in the room of, if you're feeling nervous, or you're feeling some hesitation around honing your messaging, it's okay. That's a very common response. Some of the common reasons behind that are the fear of losing customers or turning away business. And that's a very real concern, especially if you're in the early stages of your business and you're trying to build that clientele. So, if you hone in your message, you may think, okay, I'm going to be losing money. But in reality, you may be losing some of those leads, but you're going to be the ones that are going to be turned away or not coming to you are going to be the ones that aren't going to be the best fit for your business anyhow. So the goal is to pull in that higher quality lead that's going to be a higher percentage of people who are your ideal client or patient or customer. And they will know that they're the right ones because that's going to be reflected in your messaging. So you may feel like, you're turning away business, but it's not going to be necessarily that business that is the right fit for you and what you're offering anyhow. The second concern that is pretty common is, I don't want to be boxed in. I want to be able to serve, like if you're like an acupuncturist, I serve all women, or I serve all people, and I don't want to, I don't want to limit, I don't want to be boxed in. And we're certainly not boxing you. And this is around focusing your message and tailoring in how you speak to your ideal client. So this is around identifying who's your primary audience and who do you want to spotlight and focus in on, knowing that you're also going to be getting secondary audiences that still come in. I like to think of whenever when I first started copywriting, I was a health and wellness copywriter. So I wrote for a lot of leading practitioners across the US. Well, then I also started getting in, health coaches or business coaches and social media influencers and other secondary service providers that were coming in as well. Even though I wasn't having messaging that spoke to them, they were drawn in. So this is really around how can you start to identify your ideal, your primary audience, and then hone your messaging around that. So you're actually not saying absolutely no to anybody else. And then the third fear, a third common fear is, what if I choose wrong? What if I make a mistake? What if I choose wrong and now I'm stuck? Well, the good thing is, the awesome thing is you made a decision. And I've seen one of the things that fears can really trip people up from making decisions. I've experienced that myself as well, where I felt afraid of making the wrong choice. So I didn't make a decision at all, which actually in a mind gamey sort of way is a choice, right? So the good thing about making decisions and owning your own business is that you can change, you can evolve. So your customers are evolving, your customers are changing. So it stands to reason that you will, and your business will as well. So if you end up choosing or honing in, your primary audience and you're focusing your messaging and you're like, this isn't really this isn't like striking a chord. This isn't quite getting it. You can adjust the wind in your sails, pivot, go into a different direction as you need. And that's perfectly okay. So it's okay to feel these fears and understand that they're fears because it's new, it's different, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's truth in it and behind it. When it comes to like the reality. So I just wanted to address those. If y'all have any other fears or concerns about honing in your messaging or niching down, please definitely drop those in the comments and share those, because it can be something that can really like hang you up on moving forward in your business and keep you writing vague copy for for your clients. So what we're going to transition into now is okay, so how do you actually get to know your target buyer? So you've decided that you want to focus in your messaging, and so that you can tailor your words and your perfect buyer can see themselves in them. Well, how do you actually get to know the details that you need to know so that you can write more effectively? So I'm actually going to break this up into two different groups. You can break up the type of information that you need to learn into demographics and psychographics. So I'll go into each one and what they mean, and then some of those key parts under each bucket. So from a demographic perspective, this is really around the who. This is information like that you can a lot of times you can find in public records. It's their age or generation, gender, ethnicity, where do they live, what do they do for a living, how much do they earn, what's their income bracket, are they owners or renters? That's especially important, if you are in real estate or insurance, something like that. What's their education level? Are they single, married, divorced, have a domestic partner? Like what is their status? This is kind of the basic level of who. And ways that you can use the demographics in your copy are knowing this basic information helps to create that kind of foundation element of your messaging. So if, for example, let's say that you are a health coach. So knowing these basic demographics can mean the difference between being a health coach for male student athletes. So you have your age, male, what do they do, student, athletes, whose parents will probably be the ones funding their health, their coaching, or being a health coach for female executives in a high income bracket. So on one hand, you have male student athletes whose parents are going to sign them up for coaching. The other is a high executive or a female executive with a high income bracket. They're both going to be looking for very different outcomes, have very different challenges, different income needs, etc. So having this basic understanding of who they are will help you to start shape and form your messaging and how you'll talk to them. But ultimately, demographics are just a foundation point. They do a great job of giving you the who, but not the why, which is where we get into psychographics. And psychographics, $50 word, but basically it's all about helping you understand your ideal client's attitudes, their fears, their values, desires, hobbies, interests, the lifestyle choices. It's where you answer certain questions like, what do you love to do? What concerns or worries your ideal client? What are they afraid of? What really makes them nervous or fearful or stresses them out? What do they dream about? What do they hope for? What do they really value the most? What do they what do they value the least? This information helps you to be able to write in a way that connects to their emotion instead of logic. So when you go and you think about how we buy products, we have a mixture of emotion and logic. Like the logic is all the features, and I think about like we had to buy our dishwasher went out, and we had to go through how do you buy a dishwasher, and so you look at all these different components. Does it do the heat? I don't even know the technical terms, like the heat. Like, does it dry your dishes for you in there? Or does it leave them sopping wet? Is it quiet? Things like that. Those were kind of that logic piece, but the emotion piece is I can watch TV in my living room and not hear my dishwasher. I know I don't have to leave a trail of water all across the kitchen as I'm putting up my Tupperware because it dried it. So, you don't have like a slip hazard in your kitchen. Why is that important to me? Because I don't want to have to dry my dishes if I have a dishwasher that's supposed to wash and dry them. I don't want to have to remember to turn on the dishwasher before I go to bed, and then I forget, and then in the morning I don't have anything to any dishes to make my breakfast out of. So then I'm frustrated and irritated. So psychographics help you to get kind of behind the scenes of, okay, yeah, I'm a married woman who, whatever my demographics are, but the psychographics really help you understand why they're making the emotional connection and the motivation behind why they're looking for a solution. So another example of how you can illustrate the differences between demographics and psychographics are, let's say that you are a home or auto insurance provider. Demographics will tell you that a 43-year-old woman has a son about to turn 16. But psychographics is going to be what tells you that she's racked with worry about him getting into an auto accident when he gets his driver's license. So if that helps to highlight some of the differences between the two and why both are critically important to know when it comes to your ideal audience. All right, so where can you find this information out? So now you got to find the demographics, you got to find motivations, you got to get in their head and their heart. Well, where in the world do you find this information out? It's not like, there's just a repository of all these different, target audiences, and you're looking for the specific one that you can just copy, paste, and apply. How do you go and where do you go to find it out? So I'm going to walk you through 5 different areas that you can go to get that information. And the first one is at the North Central Texas Sbdc. So the Sbdc is an amazing resource that is designed to help you grow your business successfully, overcome challenges. They offer no-cost confidential advising to help you with some of the things you might be wrestling with in your business. Maybe it is a question of who's my audience, or how can I serve them better, or maybe you need trainings or resources like this webinar to help build your skills so that you can get connected to some of the things that you're struggling with or want to improve upon in your business. So the Sbdc is an amazing resource for you for that. So you can go to the website or call the phone number. Both are on your screen. If you want to learn more, sign up, and chances are they're probably offering something that you don't know about. I feel like I'm always learning about amazing opportunities with the North Central Texas Sbdc. So definitely lean on them. Now, the second thing that you can do when it comes to learning about your ideal client is to ask your perfect buyer. Now, I know that this seems like an obvious one, but it's actually one that I think we tend to shy away from because it takes some time, and who do we ask? What do we ask? What do I do with that information? And it just can feel like, well, how do I find the person to ask? It can just feel like a lot, right? But doing market research interviews, there's some ways that I'll show you how to ask and get in touch with your perfect buyer. Going straight to who your ideal client is going to be absolute gold for your messaging and for your marketing. So there are 3 ways that you can do this. So I'll walk you through each of these. So the first one is start with who you know. So this is your current network, your friends, your family. If you're in network groups, if you're in service opportunities, just start, you pull out a piece of paper and a pen and start jotting down who are the different people that reflect my target audience, that I could go and ask some questions to. So start with who you know. And then the second one is, and this is one I highly recommend doing if you haven't yet, are market research calls. This is where you're going and you're seeking out, maybe you know them, maybe you don't, maybe they're in your extended social media network, maybe they're past clients, or your clients have referrals, people they know that they could recommend to you. But the purpose of market research calls are for you to get on and have a conversation. I recommend that these are done over Zoom, or if you do them in person, that you can, some way that you can record them. So that way you can just focus on having a conversation and you're not trying to like jot down all the notes. Plus, the added benefit of recording it and getting that permission to record it is you can actually go back and listen to, if you have multiple market research calls, you can go back, listen to it, take notes, see common threads and themes across these market research calls, and then start to use that and pull actual exact phrasing from those calls and start weaving that into your marketing. So how do you go about doing this? A simple way to do it is you create a post on whatever your chosen social media platform is, and you say, hey, I'm looking to interview, let me see if I can give an example. Let's do the home and auto insurance, where you're let's say you're wanting to really ramp up the auto insurance piece, and you're wanting to meet with the moms of teenage kids. So you could create a social post that says, hey, I'm looking to do some market research calls and looking to have a 20-minute conversation with 7 to 10 moms who have kids who are going to be getting their license in the next year. This is not a sales call. This is just a conversation. So, and then if you want, you can say, in exchange, I'd love to offer you a free policy review or something like that. Doing that, making it clear that this is not, I'm not going to pitch you anything or sell you anything, helps disarm them so that they know that, okay, I can actually come into this conversation and share. But then it also gets you very specific into, okay, I want women who have kids about to get their driver's license in the next year. So it'll get you that very specific feedback. Now, when you get on those calls, you can ask them very specific questions, and I'll share some of those here in a second, that will start to get behind. You'll get some more of the demographics, but you'll really start getting into that psychographic piece, the motivation, the values, the fears, the dreams, all the feelings, the emotion part. And then and always ask, leading off on those, if it's okay if you record, because then that just it really does make it so much easier on you. I've done it both ways, and I will tell you, having it recorded, way better. The final way that you can do this is surveys. So surveys this is something that I see commonly used, but this is my own personal opinion, personal/professional opinion, is that surveys, they're really important, but they are not as substantial or rich in quality as your market research calls are going to be. So here's why. So surveys are, you send out a link with this, like 10 questions, and it's a mixture of, maybe they're all short answers, or maybe you have some where it's a sliding scale, but here's kind of the difference in the quality that you're going to get. Market research calls are a conversation. They're live, they're active, they're interactive. You can ask, if they say something that's confusing, you can ask for follow-ups, or like to say, like, can you clarify that? Or like, what do you mean by that? It can also spark other questions that you didn't think of in the moment. So it's a very engaging experience. Surveys, you're limited to how they interpret the question, how they write. So you're not getting as much of that conversational dialogue that you really want to have whenever it comes to writing copy. You're going to get what they're typing out, which could sound more formal or censored, because they're going to be thinking kind of like they can go back and edit. You're not getting that on the cuff, like genuine kind of spontaneous response piece. So it will still give you important information, and it's absolutely better than doing nothing at all. But there are going to be some limitations on surveys that you wouldn't have when you get market research calls. So market research calls, you're kind of putting yourself out there a little bit more, but you have the opportunity to get far richer feedback. Surveys are a little bit more limited with that. Now, what are the questions that you are going to ask during your research calls? So I have a couple of slides here on some questions for that. So the first bullet point is around the 5 whys. So this one is it's really, when someone makes a statement, it's asking them follow-up questions to really get at their true pain points or their true motivation or their true feelings behind that statement. So asking why, like in the follow-up whys, can help you drill down and really uncover what they're struggling with. So one example could be, why do you want to eat healthier? Because I want to lose weight. Well, why are you looking to lose weight? Because I don't like how my clothes fit. Well, why don't you like that? Because I don't feel attractive. And then it's, okay, so, you wanting to lose weight isn't so much like the initial pain point, because that's how they've interpreted the question, but it's lack of confidence or lack of feeling beautiful. So then your messaging hits at that kind of deeper level that you may not have uncovered if you didn't kind of start probing into a little bit deeper behind that. So some other questions that you can ask are, how long has this been a problem or a desire of yours? That helps you understand, is it short-term, is it long-term? How long have they been suffering with this or wanting this and not getting it? How long has it been unresolved? How is it affecting other areas of your life? So often problems don't exist in isolation. So if you use this example of, this person wanting to trim up a little bit, how is that affecting other areas of your life? Well, if you're not feeling confident or you're not feeling attractive, you may not be, it could be affecting your romantic relationships or your friendships, or, maybe you're not wanting to go out as much because you can't find clothes that you feel comfortable in. Maybe you don't go for that promotion because you feel insecure. There's seldom do problems just exist in a vacuum and only affect one area. So saying, how is it affecting other areas of your life, can give you insight into how much this is starting to influence and shape kind of their whole life experience. And then asking the question, how does that make you feel? That starts to get into that emotion of, what is the impact of that problem and how it's showing up in their life, and how does that really start to bother them and hit them on an emotional level. These last two questions I love because you also want to make sure and connect into their future aspirations and future dreams. So you want them, I like to end these in the question, in the market research calls, or if you do the survey with these two questions, because it always helps you to end the conversation on a positive, upbeat note and with a smile. These questions always bring about smiles. So it's, what do you want your life, your business, your relationships to look like in the future? Like if you could imagine yourself 5 or 10 years down the road, what would it look like to have this problem solved or to have this thing that you want achieved? If you're a little bit of a short term, let's say that you're a restaurant, you can shorten that horizon a little bit. But how would it feel if you had this already? And then why is it that you want that down the line? Why is that important to you? What makes that so important and a priority? And how would getting that make you feel? So I would end your market research or your surveys on those questions, because they just put you in a much more feel good spot. It's hard to talk about your pain points and things that like upset you or things that you don't have, but it's always wonderful to kind of end on that visualization. Now, this is another set of questions that I also highly recommend including kind of in the middle, probably in your interview. But this is all designed around getting the kind of some information around, like, what have they tried? Like, what have they already tried? This helps you to see, okay, is this customer or client really serious about like getting this solved? What have they done already? So what have you tried to solve this problem or get this outcome? That helps you to understand, who are they turning to? What are they trying? Getting names of programs or products that they have sampled already. Then asking, why do you think it didn't work? Like, what was it about your experience that just missed the mark? And then what would you have changed about those other programs, services, or products? So I love these questions because it helps you to, like I said, it helps you to understand how serious they are about solving that problem that they have. But it also helps you to understand, what's your, that sentence is stumbling. Let me try it again. Who they're turning to, what competition of yours they're turning to solve that problem, and what is the gap in that competition, in your competition, or in what they've tried. So It helps you to understand gaps in the offerings in the marketplace, and then also gives you insight into the priorities of your client. So to give an example of that, I think back to like when I did market research calls, gosh, spring, several months ago. And I was asking different coaches about some of the programs that they offered for like improving their messaging and, writing for their business. And this one coach shared, she's like, well, I tried this one program and I felt like I was just left in the dust. I felt like, they just blitzed on by me, and I ended the program and I wasn't any better off than when I had started. And so that was so insightful for me to hear that, because it tells me that, okay, pace is really important. Making sure that you take the time, give that individual attention, create that space for her to, to ask questions and wrestle with ideas, and just to breathe through, because it's not a big sprint for her. She really was more about that marathon part of running a business. So that helped me to understand, okay, well, here's what she tried. Here's kind of where they were missing the mark. I can either go then and address that in my own product, or play that piece up in my marketing. If, just based upon what she said, if that's a common theme that I'm seeing in my market research. So those are just some questions that you can ask to start hitting at and understanding kind of what's going on in their head and their heart and their decision-making process. All right, the next tip on or step that you can take to learn about, to get the information on learning about your ideal client, is reading online reviews. So I put on here, especially if you have a product, if you sell a product, but really it's also if you have a service as well. So this is fun, because then you can go to competitors' websites, social page. You can go to a whole myriad of places to get this information. What I recommend if you're going to check on online reviews, you read both the 5 stars and the 1 stars and kind of everything in between. But you really want to see what people are raving about, what they're excited about, what they loved about this product or this service or experience, and then what did not work, what hit the mark, what was just a face plant for them. And then start to notice what are the themes, the common things that you're seeing on both of those ends. You can do that if you go on different marketplace platforms, like if you go on Amazon or, like Shopify, Etsy, those different providers where you go and purchase products. You can also go in and look at like Google My Business. If you just go to Google and you see on the right where it says Google reviews, you can read Google reviews. You can, if you're like in a restaurant, for example, you can go look at Yelp. A couple of ways that you can go. You can also do like online case studies as well. So if other marketing agencies have done some research, you can go read case studies or analyses that they've put together. You can also do a lot of like recon work on social media. So where can you go on social media? You can do sponsored ads. So chances are, because you are in the type of business that you're in, you're probably seeing sponsored ads pop up in your news feed from other people who do what you do, which is your competitor, right? Maybe not your direct, but those who do something similar. I see them all the time for copywriting and copy coaching. What you can go do is you can read the comments in those ads, or you can go to their webpage and start to read through comments on their other posts or their reviews on Facebook, and get intelligence or market research and input that way. Now you can also go, so you can do sponsored ads, and you can also do the like going into the reviews or comments. You can also go and join Facebook groups on social media. So this is a way where you don't have to necessarily find your customers from scratch, or information about your customers, from scratch. Joining Facebook groups with your target audience in them is a great way for you to capitalize on groups that have already been curated for you or for your ideal client. So I think I think about like like if you're a chiropractor and you offer services for migraine sufferers. Well, you could go and join. There are migraine support Facebook groups that exist. You could go and you can join those. or just hop on if they're public and just read through some of those posts and be able to get specific market research or calls around, not calls, market research or comments, sorry, that people are making in those Facebook groups about, what is it like to be a migraine sufferer? How is it interfering with their life? Do they miss their son or daughter's sports game or swim meet or a word ceremony or something? Or did they have to cancel with their friends once again because they're stuck on a couch? What is it like to experience migraines? You can actually find out a lot of information just from going on Facebook groups. I've done that for as part of my research process for writing copy for clients, where I've gone into groups that are catered and built around support for their ideal clients, and then done some research that way. But what you'll want to notice whenever you go into these Facebook groups is what are people talking about, what they're going through. Make notes of common or specific phrases. Jot down those phrases that you can go and pull. Like as you're doing all this research, have a Google Doc or a notebook where you're making comments of phrases that you're seeing pop up, or ones that really stand out, ones that really give like help paint the picture and create that imagery, so that you can use that also in your as inspiration for your copy. So the last piece I wanted to talk about ties a little bit into the Facebook group, and that's really around you want to hang where they hang, where your audience is hanging out. You want to hang out as well. I don't mean in like some creepy way. I mean like, where are they hanging out online? What are they listening to? What are they absorbing? So your ideal client is savvy. They are already doing research. They're reading reviews. They are, going on your website. They're checking out your social media page. They're doing that with others as well. They're likely on multiple, probably on Facebook, Instagram. Maybe they're on LinkedIn. They're reading blogs, listening to podcasts, watching Netflix. They're consuming all this information in all these different platforms. And how can you start to kind of to plug in where they're plugging in? So for example, if you are if you're like a financial planner and you're helping people transition from the work world into retirement, what would your ideal client, what books would they be reading? What blogs would they be searching, looking up? What questions are they asking that they are wanting answers for? So if you're thinking of retirement, it's it's the balance of investments versus Social Security, or I'm not in that phase, so I'm blanking on those questions, but you can look at books on like books on Amazon that go around retirement. You can actually do searches around financial planning for retirement and start to get some ideas and hop in to some of those comments and read some of those as well. Same with blogs. You can look up what are some of those top blogs that rank on Google, and if they have comment sections, you can read what's in the what they're actually consuming, because then that informs kind of, okay, here's what they're searching out, but then you can also see their people's responses to that. Also podcasters are on fire right now. There's a podcast for almost anything, or YouTube videos. People are loving videos and watching more and more videos. So whether it's online or on their social feeds or on YouTube, they're consuming things they can listen to and the things that they can watch. Well, if you're a financial planner for retirement, what are those top YouTube shows that they're watching? What are the top podcasts that are really drawing them in? And are they going to local events? Are they going to seminars? What are they doing off of the digital world and in person? Do they serve in the community? Where do they, what organizations are they involved in your area that you could, plug into and meet more of them? If you go back to social media, who do they follow on social media? So I think of, I've written for a lot of like functional medicine practitioners, and, if you're a practitioner, or let's say you're a nutritionist who's all around, how food can heal your body and reduce inflammation, your followers are probably following some of the experts like Dr. Mark Hyman at the Cleveland Clinic. So are you following him and seeing what they're commenting on his post? This is a really powerful one of hanging where they hang for two reasons. One, it gets you more in through reading comments and responses, you can get even more information on your ideal client, but you can also start to see what they're consuming and get ideas, who they're following, and you can also get ideas and inspiration for type of content that you want to create. And so you're not having to think of your own content from scratch. You can pull inspiration from all of this research. So it's almost like you have two different lists at this point. You have one which is all around like who your ideal client is and what they care about and what they're trying. And the other is like, what are things you could write about, like social post ideas or topics that kind of tie into that. So I like to have kind of both lists going at the same time. So this one kind of falls a little bit into that like competitive research a little bit, but you can very much use it for just learning about your ideal client. So what I wanted to do is do a quick recap on these 5 things. So 1, you can lean on the North Central Texas Sbdc to learn about your ideal client or audience. And if you have other questions or challenges as well, you can ask them. You can ask your perfect buyer. You can read online reviews, the good, the bad, the ugly. You can join Facebook groups with your ideal audience in them. And then you can hang where they hang, books, podcasts, videos, in person, etc. Now, one of the comment I have here at the bottom is do this throughout the year. So client needs change and your customers are continuing to evolve. Your business is evolving. Your solutions may be, they may also be adjusting as well. Maybe there's seasonality to your business and what you offer. So if you're in the health and wellness world, you're about to like go into your like intense season because New Year's is coming up, right? But then maybe you have a different type of experience in the summertime when people have fallen off, or maybe we're getting ready for summer vacation. So it's understanding how your target audience's needs change throughout the year, but then also just environmentally. So I think of last year when with copywriting and in copy coaching, like pre-pandemic, my clients had very different problems than when the pandemic hit and businesses, their doors just shut. Marketing needs were very different when you couldn't open your doors than they were before, or even now in our current state. So the world changes. And so doing this exercise, keeping kind of a regular cadence on whenever you do your market research, just to keep it fresh and current so that you're always lockstep with your target buyer. All right, so once you have this information, then it's around creating your ideal buyer's persona. So you have all this information, you have all these notes and all these valuable insights. What do you do with it then? This is when it's really helpful to corral it into one spot and kind of organize your thoughts. So this is where creating an ideal buyer persona can be really helpful. So what is that? Basically, an ideal buyer persona is kind of a fictional character that you create who exhibits all of the traits and qualities that you want in your ideal client, target audience, perfect, patient, your ideal buyer. So it's in it, you have, who basically it's who your buyer, your perfect buyer or target audience is or isn't. So it's just as important as knowing who it is. It's also knowing who it isn't. What are those traits or qualities or life stages that do not apply? So that if you do see someone come through, you can quickly decide, okay, am I going to be the right fit for them? Am I going to be able to help them in the way that they need? Yes or no? So that's part of your buyer persona, but really what you can do is to quickly get this character created is, open up a Microsoft Word doc or a Google Doc and start listing out all those demographics and psychographics that we talked about earlier, all, the age, income, gender, ethnicity, do they own or do they rent, all that information, plus all the motivators and emotions and all those things that you have learned, put them all in one Google Doc. And that will start to help form this persona for your primary audience. So then once you have this created, do so, or as you're creating it, do this as much as you can in the ideal words or in the words of your ideal client. So pulling from direct phrases or direct quotes so that this becomes your go-to document for whenever if you ever need to reground or recenter, it's kind of your stake in the ground that you can then compare like all your different marketing, your social posts, your emails, your ads, all of that up against to say, okay, is this in line with who my target audience is? What I also like to recommend doing is getting a photo or some kind of picture that represents them. And you can actually print that photo out and keep it beside your computer so that whenever it comes time to write to them, whatever your writing is, you can write with that person in mind. Because like I mentioned earlier in the webinar, when you like whenever I would get hung up on writing, I would think like, okay, why am I stuck? And a lot of times it was because I was trying to write to too many. So I would think, okay, I'm going to picture one person who is one person that represents, I can think of that represents my ideal, like who I'm trying to write to. And it was like a magic trick that would just help me to break through and write to that person specifically. So I'd recommend doing that for you too. Find a picture. If you know someone who kind of fits your ideal audience already, maybe you can use theirs, and if it's not weird to do that, but it helps, that visualization really helps a lot. So remember, when it comes to creating your buyer persona, that this is not going to be perfect. This is one piece of information that goes into your marketing. So it'll evolve and it'll grow just as you evolve and grow, and just as your business evolves and grows. And also your target audience is, even though this is one buyer persona, in reality, your target audience is made up of a bunch of individuals who are unique and distinct, and may not fit 100% to your ideal buyer persona. But the goal of the persona is to help you hone in your messaging and help you write easier and better for your business. And so, but it is just that one set of information. All right, so here are some places where you can use this persona in your marketing. So we talked about how it can frame up and shape your messaging. You can use your buyer persona as you write your websites or your blogs, as you crank out your social media posts, if you write emails or send newsletters, if you're doing printed marketing like postcards or ads. It's also great information and insight for if you go on and do Facebook Lives. So a lot of times we think, oh, I don't want to go on live. What am I going to say? Am I going to be goofy? Is this going to be meaningful for them? Well, if you know some of the things that your buyer or your ideal buyer are struggling with or wants, that can help inform the type of value that you're providing on your Facebook Lives or your Instagram Lives. And then if you have any Q&A, things that you learn along your research journey with this, that can also help to create that content for your lives. Also, if you're going to speak at different events, or if you're hopping on podcast, or if you're showing up in your community, knowing who you're going to be speaking to, and how that relates to your target audience, and how that can help shape as you're writing out your speech or your speaking notes for that particular event or that podcast, and can also help you to start. That's actually really helpful so that you can start speaking in your normal vernacular, in the ways that that resonate with your target audience. So it helps that way. It helps your spoken word and your written word. Also, if you it helps you to develop partnerships or referrals. So if you think about like that chiropractor example, let's say you're a chiropractor for prenatal moms, for moms who are about to either current moms or about to give birth, and you provide services for the mom and the family. And you think about that's who your target audience is, and you think, okay, who are some of the other different service providers that support her? Maybe there are doulas or prenatal nutritionists or prenatal health coaches. Maybe it's a baby shop in your community that helps them helps the mom get the nursery all set up or prepare for a postpartum care kit, something like that. So once you better know who your ideal audience is, you can then start to say, who are the other types of businesses that support that audience, and how can I start creating either partnership events in your community or referral networks, so that if you're that chiropractor and you have a referral network set up with the doula, and the doula is saying, the doula has a patient that comes, a mom that comes to her and says, oh, I'm really suffering. I have all this back pain. I can't get comfortable at night. you're that doula's go-to person to make that recommendation and that connection. So knowing who your target audience is and being lockstep with them can help to expand your business through partnerships with other business owners in your community. And like I touched on before, it can also help to design or refine your products or your services. So the more that you learn about your target audience, you're going to uncover things that that they may not have even known that they needed, or that you didn't know, and you just uncovered kind of during your conversations with them, or maybe it was something new that popped up. But by you staying in consistent communication with them, you're getting that hot off the press information of how can you actually take that to improve your products and your services for your own business. How can you start to get that edge and get that lead on and further differentiate what you offer from what else is in the marketplace? And then you're also seen as that go-to expert and that authority who is over delivering on value and service for your ideal client. And being in the know with what they need and what's missing can help you to up your game with that even more. So those are just some ways that knowing your target audience can be used across your whole business, not even necessarily just your writing, but even as you start to approach other ways to market your business. All right, so we're going to start winding down with one simple mistake that business owners make when it comes to writing their copy. This is one that we are all susceptible to, whether you're just starting out or you are a seasoned multi-decade business owner. We all run the risk of doing this. Even if we think we've mastered it, even if we think we're on top of it, we all run the risk of sliding back into this. So what is it? It has to do with who is the spotlight on. When it comes to writing for your business, who is the spotlight on? So what does that mean? That means even like when whatever you're writing, who is being highlighted. So a lot of times what makes it so tempting to write about ourselves is that we know who we are. We know ourselves inside and out. It's easier to talk about ourselves because we're familiar. We know the ins and outs of our business. So it's easy to talk about what we offer, what we sell, what our marketing stuff is, or what our promotions are, or what we're going to be having. The difference is when you frame it up like that, the spotlight is on you. Yes, your clients should be the focus of your copy. So the question is the spotlight on you or is it on your clients or your audience? So the difference between saying, here's our products, here's our services, here's our promotions, that's very like you focused language. Flip that to start talking about how what you offer will benefit them. And that is where having that market research, all the information that you've done, knowing your target audience will help you shift that language to say, here's what I offer, how what I offer will benefit your life, solve this problem, bring you joy, help you achieve your goals, whatever that may be. That connects you to really into a heart-centered or a client-centered messaging. So anytime that you are about to publish a piece of copy or hit post on that website or publish on that website or go speak at an event, just read back through your words and ask, who is the spotlight on? That's the first one. If it's on you or is it on your audience? Two, if the spotlight is on you, how do you start to actually shift that so that the spotlight shines on your buyer or on your client? And then finally, this is one that is a little bit tricky, is how do I write about myself in a way that still spotlights my buyer? Because I'll tell my clients, even when you write your about page on your website, it's not really about you. It's taking your expertise, your background, what it is that you bring to the table and positioning it in a way that benefits them. So even if you're talking about yourself, the spotlight can still actually be on your ideal audience, and it should be. So those are three key questions before you publish out any type of marketing and ultimately your business exists to serve and help improve the lives of others. So this is just a simple gut check to say, okay, before I publish this out, what is who is that spotlight on? So today in our webinar, we covered why knowing your target audience matters. what exactly do you need to know? So that's demographics and psychographics. How can you find out that information? What are all the different places that you can go to learn that? We talked about how to create your buyer persona and how you can keep that as your reference point and kind of your North Star on when you write your copy. And then that one simple mistake that business owners make. So how do you keep that spotlight on your audience and not on your, not just on yourself? So I also included some tips along the way that you can start to think of as you start to write your copy. But part 2 to this webinar will be really a deep dive into how do you actually start taking this knowledge and using it in your writing. What are some simple ways you can start doing that immediately and really start to take your copy to that next level. So I want to leave y'all with a quote, and this has to do with writing to your specific, to your primary audience, to your target client. If you're writing to everybody, you're writing to nobody. So you want to make sure that your messaging is specific. It is to who it is that lights you up, that gets you springing out of bed every morning because you love working with these clients or having them shop at your store or buy your services. And so you want to make sure that you're talking directly to them so you can get more of them to come and be served by your business. So I'll wrap up with, these are some ways that you can get in touch with me. If you have any questions, please definitely drop those in the chat and I'll be happy to answer them.
Well, Ashley, that was some really valuable information. I appreciate the whole thing. It is kind of hard to shift your focus from you want to let everybody know what you can do for them, but remembering that you really have to focus on what their needs are as opposed to what you could do for them. Just hearing them out helps a lot. One question, let's see, would you say it would be okay to have logos of companies instead of a persona photo to be your target for writing to them if you have a B2B business model?
That's a great question. I would say yes. So when I think about like B2B, if you are, if you have a certain, I would go through this exercise and just make a slight tweak to say the business that, like a business you want to support. So if you think about, let's say that your B2B and your target audience is, your target audience, like your target business would be like B Corp or sustainable businesses or, okay, spas, we'll go through spas. Yes, let's say that you are, I was going to like free range eggs in my mind because I still don't know where to find free range, like farm fresh eggs in our area besides the grocery store. Spas. So let's think of spas. So as you start to map this out, how would you go through? So let me actually back up and we'll just go through this. So like from a demographic perspective, you can map it out based upon like, what is the age of the company? Is it a newer spa? Is it a more established spa? Who does the spa cater to? Is it who are their clients? So you're almost kind of like understanding who's the business, but then who's the business's customers. And then start to kind of map that out. And then you could play that exercise a little bit with their clients here too, because ultimately if it's B2B, you're probably providing them some kind of support that will help them meet their clients' needs. So you want to know their clients as well as you want to know them. So then whenever you think about like a psychographic perspective, like you're doing it from the framework of the spa, what are their goals? What are their desires? You're probably not going to have hobbies and interests so much because that's a very individualized thing. But from a business perspective, what are their business goals? What do they value as a company? Who like, and how does that, come through to their clients? You could still ask some of these questions of what concerns or worries them, how are they looking to, to delight their clients and really provide that outstanding spa experience for their clients. What are some of the things that trips them up? Is it the like estheticians or massage therapists that may work at the spa? Is it like training them? Is it Is it like equipment? Is it processes? You're wanting to kind of get a full understanding of what's working well, what's stressing them out, what's keeping them from reaching their business goals, and then understanding that all with the lens of the solutions that you're able to provide. But then also, it's how does that, because you're probably going to be contacting, you won't be working with just a nameless entity of a spa. It'll be one particular person at that spa, probably that you have that main contact with. So that's when you can start answering or getting those questions of, okay, when I have that conversation with them, what are they concerned about? Like, what are they specifically worried about or concerned about? What are their dreams for the spa? What's their response? What are their responsibilities entail? What's their vision for where they want to take this? What do they value? What do they not really care about? Because then as you start crafting your messaging to that one contact at the spa, you can start to get more tailored into and speaking the language that they're listening to, and then also able to craft your messaging to meet the needs that are relevant to them. So it's knowing not just the type of business that you want to do B2B work with, but also the type of contacts that you would have within those spas and getting to know them too. So the B2B is a really cool, fun space to be, because you get to learn the business side, and then you get to learn about who's that main contact or type of that role that would be in contact with at the spas. But then you could still very much create that ideal buyer persona based upon that spa or that role of that person at that spa. But I think logos would be great, because then that helps you to if you have like a certain type of spa in mind, that'll help you to stay focused on messaging for that type of business, versus kind of getting scope creep where other non-spa businesses can kind of come in. But yeah, I think logos that's probably a bigger answer than you were asking. But yes, I think logos would work fine in that case.
Okay, I think that you have responded to all of the questions. If something else comes to mind, please put it in chat, and we'll be sure to get to it before we let Ashley go. I want to share with you all our upcoming events. Let's see. Tomorrow and Thursday, we have a new presenter, Brian Flanagan. He is with Flanagan Training Company, and he's going to talk about the sale and interesting topics. And he's quite a presenter. You'll definitely enjoy. So please be sure and come back tomorrow and Thursday. And then next week, we have Ashley back with part 2 of today's presentation. And then to round out the month of December, we're bringing Brian back for how to replace the competition. I want to thank you all for joining us today. You'll be receiving a survey, and if you would please complete that survey, help us to understand what kind of information you would like shared, how we can improve in our program, our webinar program, what topics you would like to see presented. You can visit our Sbdc website by using the QR code that's in the top right-hand corner of your slide there, and there you can register for the webinars. You can get contact information. You could schedule an appointment with an advisor. You can also find all sorts of resources already there on the website that can be used by small business owners. We would like to thank our benefactors, the folks that actually make it possible for us to provide our services to you at no cost. The Small Business Administration, the State of Texas, North Texas Sbdc Regional Office, North Central Texas College. Thank you all for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow for Sell Your Value, Don't Defend Your Price. Thanks so much.